We are Newsroom. Hello and welcome once again from Johannesburg here in South Africa. My name, of course, Evan Jansen. The show, as always, is live and is broadcast from our studios right here in Auckland Park. Don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube via the live streaming facility there, also on demand later in the day. Of course, between 9 and 12 every weekday morning, that's when you've got Newsroom. Now today, well, we all woke up to a little bit of sad news once again this morning. One of the greats, footballing greats, and one of Africa's favourite sons passed away unexpectedly this morning. Stephen Keshi, former Nigerian coach and great player. We want to know from you, how do you remember the great man? How do you remember Stephen Keshi? We'd like to hear your comments at SABC Newsroom. You can also send it to our Facebook page, and we'll try and reflect that throughout the morning as we carry on with the show. Yeah, lots of news in the offing as well. We'll be live around the country throughout the 3 hours that we're on air. But let's get a news update first with Rene West, who's standing by.
The IEC hosts a draw to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for the August local government elections. Ratings agency Fitch to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating. And Africa mourns the death of former Nigerian captain and coach Stephen Keshi, who died from a cardiac arrest at the age of 54. Let's take a look at what's coming up in your sports headlines with Kendall Mahamate. Very good morning to you, Kendall.
Good morning. It's good morning only in name, really, because once again, another great of African lineage and descent passes away. It's been too many this year, Eben. But I think
tough little stretch, Kendall.
Absolutely, and I think it's something to mourn and to mention. And good morning to you. We do start the morning with sad news. This is what's coming up in the sports today.
I don't build my team around the player. I build my team around the team.
Former Super Eagles coach Stephen the Big Boss Keshi dies of cardiac arrest at the age of 54 in Benin City. And the beleaguered Proteas strike a telling blow for transformation as they pull off a shock win over rampant Australia with 8 players of colour in the side.
Through it, right through it. This has been a very good opening burst in combination here between Parnell and Romano.
Huge numbers out to the left, most of them forwards. St. David's being one of them. Davids goes in for try number 2.
And the Baby Box beat Japan 59-19 in their opening 2016 Under-20 World Championship match. All this and more we've got for you in the sports later on in the bulletin. We'll also be chatting to Evan about the story of the day at about 9:50 or so. But for now, it's back to the main desk for the news.
Thank you very much, Kendall. The Independent Electoral Commission will host a draw today to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for the August local government elections. Representatives of the parties are expected to attend the event at the IEC's headquarters in Centurion. IEC spokesperson Kate Papela says the process will not differ from that used in previous elections. Once the first party has been drawn, it will top the ballot paper and the rest will follow alphabetically. Now let's go over to Eben, who has more on this.
Yeah, thank you very much to Rene. Just to remind you, we'll be live at the IEC headquarters, at around 10 o'clock or shortly after 10 o'clock this morning for the draw, which of course will take place there. It'll be very interesting. But let's go to the IEC HQ now, where our reporter Aldrin Sampier is standing by to speak to the IEC's Sai Mamabola. Very good morning to you, Aldrin. I just wanted to ask you to tell us what's happening there before you speak to the IEC. Well, it seems as if we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. We'll try and get back to Aldrin shortly. But before I hand over to Rena, just to remind, at 10 o'clock this morning, or shortly after 10, we'll be live for that draw to see what parties' names will go at the top of the ballot paper. Should be very, very interesting. But I'll try and fix this technical difficulty, and Rene will continue with the news.
That's quite right, Evan. Ratings agency Fitch is expected to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating later. The country avoided a downgrade to junk status on Friday when S&P Global Ratings kept debt at investment grade. Fitch is widely expected to follow suit. Growth figures are also due today, with some economists predicting that the GDP has shrunk in the first quarter. Meanwhile, business confidence has fallen to a record low. The Business Confidence Index released yesterday by RMB shows that it's fallen to a 7-year low. Government security cluster is expected to meet today following issuing of a terror alert by the U.S. Embassy in South Africa. The U.S. government earlier warned its citizens in South Africa of a possible terrorist attack targeting American tourists who frequent upmarket malls and shopping centres. Britain and Australia have issued travel alerts for their citizens visiting South Africa. The U.S. Embassy has reiterated their position on its terror alert. Africa's football fraternity is mourning the death of Stephen Keshi, the former coach of the Nigerian national soccer team, the Super Eagles. Keshi's brother, Emmanuel Ado, earlier, and the Nigerian Football Association said the soccer icon died of cardiac arrest this morning. King Keshi, as he was affectionately known, was the only Nigerian to have won the Africa Cup of Nations as a player and coach. He rose to national prominence when debuted for Super Eagles in 1981 at the age of 20. He was recently linked to the local team Orlando Pirates. The Nigerian football legend is survived by 4 children and his mother. That is your top news for now. We will be back at the top of the hour with more news. But for now, it's over to Urban.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rene. Of course, our question of the day, just to remind you, today is World Ocean Day and we were going to deal with that, but, well, unfortunately, it's been kind of overrun by the very unexpected death of Stephen Keshi, as you've just heard from our news desk. At the age of 54, he just fell over, cardiac arrest, gone. We ask you today, how do you remember Stephen Keshi? I remember him as the most passionate man on the sidelines who willed Nigeria forward, a wonderful ambassador for his country and a wonderful ambassador for the sport of football. Spent his life in the game and will be forever remembered for that. Of course, today is World Ocean Day, and South Africa has become a signatory to a groundbreaking international treaty to combat illegal fishing. The legally binding agreement was signed by no less than 29 countries in Rome over the weekend. Signatories to this treaty are legally required to inspect trawlers entering their ports for signs of illicit catches. Now, China and Japan were conspicuously absent during the signing. Last month, a Chinese fishing trawler suspected by the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries to be one of the 9 vessels fishing illegally in South African waters was escorted into the Cape Town harbour by a coastal protection vessel. Now, joining us on World Ocean Day, we have in Cape Town from the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Sasha Peha. Very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Eben, and good morning to your viewers at home.
Sasha, just give us a quick overview. Our participation in the signing of this illegal fishing treaty, it's a major step for us forward, isn't it?
Indeed, Eben, it's a great day in the history of South Africa in our plan to curb and reduce illegal and unreported and unregulated fishing. We have acceded to the United Nations FAO port state measures, and it came into effect this week on Sunday.
Now,
Eben,
yes, carry on.
No, I was trying to explain to you what really excites us at this stage. The agreement, as it stands, Eben, it was adopted in 2009 by the FAO, and it can only come into effect after 25 countries have acceded to it. And on the 6th of May, a number of countries, I think Thailand and Vanuatu and Tonga, signed off on the agreement, which triggered the countdown, which means that the agreement was only going to come into effect 30 days after the 25th country has signed off. And that 30 days came into effect on Sunday, which means that we should now commit to the agreement as a country.
Now, recently we've seen 9 vessels in trouble for illegal fishing in South African waters. Do you have an update for us with regards to that particular story?
Eben, the vessels in question were fined, and the fines have been paid to the government.
Now, illegal fishing is said to cost the South African economy upwards of 4 billion rand every single year. That must be a major point of concern. How do you think this treaty will help us to improve, to stop people from fishing in our waters?
Illegal fishing, it's a global phenomenon that is not only depriving countries of income that should be earned from fishing, but it also compromises the resources that are at stake, as well as jobs that are dependent on fishing. So signing this treaty, Eben, what it means is that we will be harmonizing with the rest of the world processes and procedure which we would put in place when foreign fishing vessels require to call in one of our 3 ports, which is mainly Durban, Port Elizabeth, and Cape Town, to either offload their catch or for refueling of the vessels, and also for taking up of provisions. By harmonizing, Eben, I mean that there is a standard process and protocol that needs to be followed before a vessel is authorized to come into the South African exclusive economic zone, and then be allowed permission to get into port to utilize the port service. Before such a vessel comes in, Eben, it is required that it needs to provide the department with a number of information that we will evaluate to ascertain that the vessel has not participated in any form of illegal fishing, both in South Africa's EEZ as well as at the high seas. And if we can find that such a vessel has been involved in IUU fishing or has not received the necessary authorization to go fishing, we are at liberty, Eben, to refuse the vessel entry into our ports and refuse it to use port facilities. But should everything else be okay, if the vessel complies with all international laws and regulations, we will allow it into port, and then we will follow a certain procedure in monitoring and inspecting their catches and their offloading processes.
In conclusion, Japan and China, they didn't sign this treaty, and we know that they consume the most products out of the ocean globally every year. Is that a major concern for us, and is there a concern that this could affect our relationship with both countries?
It's not really a major concern per se. Japan and China are sovereign states, and I think they are at liberty to decide on which agreements they accede and ratify to. But what we should be doing, even as signatories, we should be encouraging all those states and countries that have not acceded to the port state measures to come on board and put forces together to assist us in reducing this scourge of illegal fishing. So it is upon ourselves to invite them and encourage them to ratify. Although also on the same breath, we work very closely with Japan and China on various other treaties internationally that relates to fishing in high seas. There's a number of conventions that South Africa has ratified that Japan and China are members to, that also look into reducing illegal fish coming into the market.
Sasha, thank you for joining us today. That's Sasha Peer, who's with the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fishery. We're talking about, well, illegal fishing. It's been in the news here in South Africa, and South Africa has just ratified or signed a treaty with 29 nations in Rome over the weekend to deal with the scourge of illegal fishing. Of course, today is World Ocean Day, well, we're looking at a whole variety of issues throughout the show that deals with illegal fishing, the ocean economy, oil in the ocean, and so forth. So it should be very interesting, those discussions. But at 10 o'clock this morning, we'll be live at the IEC headquarters where, well, the draw for the what's called the ballot box draw will take place. Now, this will determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for the August 3 local government elections. Aldrin Simper was ready once again, but it seems we've lost him. Okay, Aldrin is lost, unfortunately. Looks like we're not going to go there. Let's just go. We'll just go live there at 10 o'clock and take the feed. Now, let's go onto our social media platforms and take a look at our picture of the day. This one comes from Kelechi Nkoro. And Kelechi Nkoro talks about the untimely death of Stephen Keshi. And he says, Stephen Keshi was one of the only two men to win the African Cup of Nations as a player as well as a manager. He's a true legend. And I tell you, the word legend is overused in our world today, but this man is a true legend. Fantastic achievement. He'll be sorely missed, and there are a lot of sad faces this morning here in South Africa about Orlando Pirates supporters. Now, I have it on good authority that Keshi was on the verge of signing a deal to join Orlando Pirates. Yeah. Let's go back to Aldrin now. It seems he's ready finally. Third time lucky this morning with Aldrin Simper. Aldrin, are you ready now? Are you there?
Well, good morning, Evan. Certainly ready for you. And I'm standing right here at the election house in Centurion, where the IEC will be making that all-important draw, considering which party will be right on top of all the ballot papers come August the 3rd when we cast our votes. And right now I'm standing right next to this beautiful mosaic of the country. As you can see, I'm trying to channel my inner Theatre Munare. As you can see right here, the density over here. This is where we're at right here in Centurion, the IEC house, where the draw is supposed to be taking place. And I was saying earlier on that it's partly cloudy right now. But tell you what, it will be sunny after the draw has taken place. And right now, I'm going to be joined by the Deputy CEO of the IEC, Mr. Simon Mabule. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This must be a great moment for you guys. I was speaking earlier on to the spokesperson of the IEC as well, and she was saying that it's quite an exciting moment for the IEC.
Well, we are elated that we're going to register yet another milestone in the preparations for the election. The draw is important in that it shows the transparency of the process, that no one has been given an advantage. We will do the draw, and that draw will indicate the sequence of parties on the proportional representation ballots for all municipalities in the country.
Well, some of the concerns that have been raised by different political parties, specifically the ANC, also just ahead of the 2014 elections, was the issue around the AIC, the African Independent Congress, as well as the African National Congress, being right next to each other. And the concern was that it could have confused the different voters or the electorate. The IEC then went to Parliament and said that they're trying to rectify that. But it seems as though that process still remains.
Well, it does still remain. We hope that at least in certain municipalities there may be an intervening party between those, the IEC and the ANC. But that is a matter that we can only resolve sometime in the future. As for today, all the 204 parties that have successfully submitted documents will be in the pot, and one that comes out top will be the one that we use to allocate the sequence on ballot papers.
Would the IEC then concede that it would disadvantage some political parties if they have similar names or acronyms that probably sound the same and colors that probably resemble the same as another party?
Well, the law is such that the Chief Electoral Officer should not really register a party which resembles a name or abbreviated name or the symbols of an already registered party. So care has been taken to avoid those occurrences. And we hope that those have been sufficiently mitigated for this election.
And today when the draw takes place and we've got all these different provinces, you've got all these different areas where you have political parties who are not contesting the entire elections or in every ward, like you have the ANC, the EFF as well as the DA, which said that they're contesting all the different wards. You might have a party that's only contesting, let's say, sections of the Northern Cape. When this draw takes place, does it take that into consideration as well? That you might have a party which you draw as the first party that will be on the top of the list, but that party doesn't contest nationally. It is only contesting in the Northern Cape.
You are correct. That there may be a party that only contests one municipality, and it will be in the draw. We will use the sequence that follows that party, however, for the rest of the country. They will not necessarily be on all ballot papers throughout the country because they are contesting just the one municipality.
So for the rest of the other ballot papers, it will be the alphabetical order?
All ballots for PR will be alphabetical from the party that has been drawn today. So the alphabetical ordering will follow the party that has been drawn. In other words, if it's Z, the first party will be a Z, another Z, then we go from A, B, C, D, just like that.
Okay, let's speak quickly about independent candidates. This process right here only focuses on political parties that are contesting the elections, but we know, of course, that independent candidates will also be contesting these municipal elections. Why are they being sidelined when it comes to something as great as this?
No, they're not being sidelined. Today's process relates to the sequence of political parties on the proportional representation ballots only. The work ballots, we will purely decide the sequence based on the alphabetical names of the candidates, and that will include independents.
Finally, process from here, what happens going forward?
We have invited all parties, 204 of them. They'll start trickling in, and at 10 will commence. The vice chairperson will give a little background to the proceedings, whereafter we will do the draw. And we will display at least the 8 ballots of the metropolitan municipalities, the PR component thereof.
And just quickly before I let you go, the Constitutional Court ruling, we're still waiting for a ruling with regards to this, and now we have another constitutional case with regards to the Buwani issue. How does the IEC feel that the elections would go forward or not?
Well, we are waiting quite anxiously for the decision of the court. We as the Electoral Commission, we will have to implement the orders of court, whatever those orders are. So, we are anxiously waiting, but I think we must give the court the space to do its work, and whenever they are ready, I'm sure they will issue their judgment.
Well, yes, many political parties as well as those independent candidates who will be contesting these elections will be watching very closely that process, as well as the Constitutional Court order that we are expecting. And remember that the elections are set to take place August the 3rd. There have been some murmurs and some people arguing that the elections might not go ahead, but the IEC said that all election machinery are in gear. And as you can see, today's process really confirms that all its machinery as well as the process heading up to the elections are on set.
Very much. We'll be back with you a little bit later for the draw itself. That's our man, Aldrin Somper, talking to the IEC. Of course, he's at the IEC headquarters here in the northern Gauteng area. He'll give us the ballot box draw is what they call it, shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. Stephen Keshi passed away suddenly this morning. Big shock to the entire world football fraternity. Let's have a look at some of the responses we've seen on social media now. Atiki Abubakar says, Keshi was such an admirable and dedicated man who did Nigeria proud with his talent in the game of football. May he rest in peace. Grant Wall says, so sad. Stephen Keshi, the superb former coach and player for Nigeria, has died unexpectedly at the age of 54. 54 years young. Baba Mtetwa says, Tetan Dimitru, Muhammad Ali and now Stephen Keshi. Giants falling. Celebrated lives of icons in our lifetime. Thank you for the memories. Yes, we all share those feelings. Bright Dyke says, it saddens me greatly to hear Stephen Keshi is no longer with us. The Nigeria coach that made many of my dreams come true Rest in peace, my friend, he says. And here's a wonderful picture of the great man. He's about to join Orlando Pirates. I don't quite know how to feel about that. I kind of feel a little bit empty, if I'm honest. Rest in peace, Stephen Keshi. We still cannot believe it. Yes, that's the kind of general sense that we all have. We ask you the question, how do you remember Stephen Keshi? Send us your tweets at SABC Newsroom. We'd like to share the sentiment today. It's been kind of a shock overnight to hear of the passing of Stephen Keshi. Personally, I was waiting for him to be announced as the coach of Orlando Pirates. I still cannot believe it. Anyhow, moving on, taking a look at the front pages of the newspapers from around the globe. This morning we'll start in the United States. The USA Today reports that Hillary Clinton marked a place in American history last night, declaring victory in the Democratic presidential race. Then, in Europe, the Times says British police are teaching the Saudi Arabian regime to use high-tech detection skills, despite accepting that they could identify individuals who later go on to be tortured. Then, the Jerusalem Post in Israel reports that Israel and Russia agreed to strengthen their regional military cooperation with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin, who met face-to-face at the Kremlin in Moscow yesterday. That in itself is very interesting. Let's take a look at what's happening in the courts here. We'll start in Pretoria. The police officer who killed 3 people during a protest over water shortages in 2014 in Motutlung, outside of Brits, is expected to be sentenced in the High Court here in Pretoria today. Then in Limpopo, 2 suspects who allegedly abducted, raped and hanged 2 5-year-old girls in Rebone village outside of Mokopane in Limpopo. They're expected to apply for bail in the periodical court there. We'll be sure to keep you updated on that story, as it's caused a lot of unhappiness in that community and shocked the rest of the country, I can tell you that. We'll take a short break. It's World Ocean Day. When we come back, we'll continue that discussion. Should be very interesting.
There is a sign for perfectionism. There's a sign for goosebumps. Something that symbolizes more performance. A sign for a special mindset. There is a sign for everything we stand for. Audi Sport, born on the track. Built for the road. Join the League of Performance.
The set is a film about an Indian man who falls in love with a white girl during apartheid and the struggles that they face in order to be together. The movie is set in the 1970s when interracial relationships were illegal.
You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in real life.
Take a journey of love with Mo and Pindi.
Take your life and put it in somebody's hands. And it's not a cowardly act to do.
We kind of knew that it is taking a risk having a relationship with anyone.
Fashion is a reflection of beauty in clothes.
What motivates me to be a designer is because I like fashion a lot.
Join your host Rufulo Mula for that 1-hour weekly dose of arts and entertainment news.
Welcome back. Today, it's World Ocean Day, a global day of ocean celebration and collaboration for a better future. The 2016 theme, Healthy Oceans, Healthy Planet, to highlight the importance of our oceans to our daily lives. The day provides also an opportunity to raise awareness of the impact of human action on the ocean. On World Ocean Day, our focus falls on Operation Phakisa, or the ocean economy here in South Africa, an ambitious multi-billion rand project launched 2 years ago by the President himself. The project is driven by the Department of Environmental Affairs. Now, from the department, we are joined in Cape Town by the Deputy Director, Coastal Pollution Management in the Department of Environmental Affairs, Natasha Bejnath-Pillay. Very good morning to you, Natasha. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Natasha, you deal with coastal pollution, ocean pollution. It's World Ocean Day. How do you reflect on how we're managing our beautiful oceans right now?
Well, even if I look at all the initiatives we've been taking throughout the year and throughout the past few years, it's actually quite comforting to know how popular ocean awareness is actually becoming with our coastal societies, communities as far as inland as Johannesburg. So obviously there's a lot of hype around oceans, the ocean space, our coastal environment, the beauty and the services that our oceans provide. So yes, it's becoming very popular. We've got a series of very interesting events coming up, which we can chat about that in a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, just tell us about this event, those events, what you've got planned and so forth.
Okay, wonderful. We're actually celebrating World Oceans Day today, but the department is having a very huge event in Durban. It's culminating a coastal cleanup. We're launching our Working for the Coast cycle, and it's going to be a celebration of our ocean space. There will be exhibitions, and this month being June, which is Education Month, will culminate all the activities around why our oceans are so important, how biodiversity really needs our protection, what we can do in terms of management upstream before any pollution impacts can be realized back at the sea. So it's a lot of awareness-raising activities that would be happening in Durban during this very auspicious month. That event is scheduled for the 17th of June, and it will focus on the whole catchment, river, the estuaries, how it impacts on the sea, especially land-based sources and items that we are responsible for in managing. So that event is going to create a lot of awareness. We're going to have kids on the beach, cleaning up litter, community members, government officials, academia, civil society, private sectors, etc. on the beach, just to raise this awareness and have the sense of belonging with our oceans.
Now, I know that you guys are doing fantastic work in spreading the word amongst our communities and so forth, but our oceans are talking back to us as well. What are the oceans saying with regards to pollution around South Africa? How are we doing?
Well, there are several indicators if we look at it. Obviously, we have biodiversity impacts from overfishing and resources. But from a pollution perspective, there is growing evidence that there are more and more microplastics and plastics in our oceans, which we need to become more aware of and have more practical ways of dealing with waste management before it becomes a problem at sea. We know that there's almost 13,000 pieces of plastic for every square kilometer in the sea, which is quite alarming. And we have almost, or at least 267 species of biodiversity and marine life that get entangled or eat plastics and and that really battle to survive in their natural environment. So yes, it is talking back to us. We need to do something about it.
Yeah.
There's actually been some research and speculation that in a couple of years there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish, which is quite alarming. And if given the going rate, I'm quite comfortable to say that the results are quite staggering. I mean, if you look at it, we've got things in our ocean that were there 100 years ago that were disposed of that are still trying to disintegrate. An aluminium can, for example, would take 450 years to completely dissolve at sea. And a glass bottle would take close to 1 million years to completely dissolve at sea. So the question is, what is it that we want to do or need to do on the land side that would prevent that from actually affecting our ecosystems?
Now, the buzzword in South Africa right now around the ocean economy, Operation Phakisa, of course, we are going to put a lot of effort into maximizing revenue out of the oceans around our country. How do we find the balance, or what is the balance between maximizing the ocean economy and not polluting the ocean to the extent where it hurts everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. The ocean's economy focuses on 4 different priority areas. That is to grow the whole socio-economic potential of our oceans. And the 3 of those sectors that are a priority or have been highlighted to benefit from the oceans are transport, maritime transport and manufacturing, oil and gas, exploration as well as aquaculture. And the fourth key priority to strike that balance is marine protection and governance. So that is led by the Department of Environmental Affairs, essentially to oversee those activities and in the spirit of development and exploration that there isn't really an impact on the natural environment and all the beneficial uses of our ocean space.
Natasha, thank you very much for joining us today. That's Natasha Bejnath Pillay. She came to us live from Cape Town. Of course, she's the Deputy Director, Coastal Pollution Management within the Department of Environmental Affairs. If you don't know it, today is World Ocean Day. We can live here in Johannesburg, but we still need to understand all of us needs to make a contribution to our oceans, and we can do so by using less plastic. You've just heard it. More plastic in the ocean than fish within the next 10 years. That in itself is a shocker, if you ask me. Anyhow, time for a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Why are electoral systems important in a democracy?
We think of democracy as voting people into office. The other side of the coin is that we would be more empowered and more accountable in politics if we could do the opposite, is vote them out when they don't deliver.
Politics is about who gets what, when and how.
If you look up on the internet as to how the head of state is chosen, it says monarchy.
We should not refer to an election as a contest.
So we should not shy away from the fact that an election is a contest. Of course, I do admit that it's not a bloody contest, or it shouldn't be a bloody contest.
It shouldn't be a bloody
people,
contest.
Fight and, of course, and
it should also not be a beauty contest.
Then it shouldn't be also a beauty contest either.
Swiss people, for example, can travel internationally with a cantonal passport, not even a national one. That's like us traveling on a Free State passport, for example.
Welcome back. In August of 2013, President Jacob Zuma undertook a state visit to Malaysia. He was introduced to the Big Fast Results methodology, through which the Malaysian government achieved significant government and economic transformation within a very short time. Using this approach, they addressed national key priority areas such as poverty, crime, as well as unemployment. Now, with the support of the Malaysian government, the approach was adapted to the South African context. The Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University was tasked by government to conduct a study on the ocean economy and the potential it could unleash into the wider South African economy. Now, Yusuf Adam, the project manager at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, joins us from our studio in Port Elizabeth this morning. Salams, Yusuf.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much for having us on the program.
Yusuf, just run us through what you guys are doing. Just sort of outline us the study that you've undertaken at the university on the ocean economy and the benefits for all of us.
Certainly. I'd like to shout out my wave to everybody who has been a part of World Ocean Day 2016. I just want to mention that the university's contribution in terms of the plastics pollution is that we'll be part of an Africa-wide maritime waste network in the course of this year. Regarding your question, in March of 2012, the university was starting to devise a method for calculating the value of the goods and services that are related to South Africa's oceans and coasts. We started with a methodology for that study. It's not something that has been done before, and also it's not something that has been established quite widely in the world.
What we did add to the study, besides the economic factors, was the question of the ecosystem and the biodiversity of both the oceans as well as the coastline. And that is why you'll find that today the university speaks about both marine and maritime sciences when we look at all aspects of the ocean's economy. And we also then contextualize what we have found in terms of the economic value of the ocean in terms of the blue economy. What I can also tell you is that since that study, we have undertaken a scoping study towards the end of 2014. And in that study, we then identified a whole range of possible academic programs that the university could offer. And we also then looked at various research and development opportunities, as well as the innovation opportunities. Thirdly, we were quite successful in assisting the establishment of the South African International Maritime Institute. It's presently hosted by the university, and all of those became quite successful outcomes, of the broader study of the economic factors. What is also significant is that the research and study that was done for the African Maritime Domain Conference was an important contributor to what we have. And so far, the university is successful in having translated all of this into a marine and maritime sciences strategy for the university. Thank you.
Just tell us quickly about, from your studies that you've done, in the short and medium term, what do you think are the game changers that could come out of the ocean economy for South Africa's economy?
Well, there are a number of game changers. One can look at what has happened in different parts of the world, and you will find a major game changer in different parts of the world has been the concept of maritime clusters. Now, in South Africa, and certainly as far as the university is concerned, we're looking at the helix, which is comprised of academia, the industry, as well as public sector. Particularly in Operation Pakisa, that is starting to come together. But as importantly for the university is the fourth dimension to that helix, from the triple helix then to the quadruple helix. And that is the community participation, community empowerment that goes together with these maritime clusters. Now, if you were to look at the game changers, specifically as far as sectors are concerned, you will find that South Africa has already started manufacturing several new vessels in South Africa. The example of about a half a dozen tugboats, some of them that have been delivered already and others in the process of delivery, is an example. There's also going to be specialized vessels, and the Navy comes to mind. So there's an example of how maritime clusters can in the future start working together to get that industry going. And besides shipbuilding...
Yeah, I wanted to ask you quickly about marine farming specifically. I'm quite interested in marine farming. Are we going to see more marine farms and in that sort of on the back of conservation efforts? Are we going to see that pop up on the back of your program?
Definitely, definitely. Besides, the ocean structures, to do with shipping and installations, you will find that there will definitely be in the fisheries and aquaculture context, there will be far more ocean-based structures for aquaculture, marine farming of, marine plants, as well as fish species, as well as the shell species. I think those are also areas around which you can expect clusters to be formed. Now, these clusters are going to then create new supply chains, new business opportunities for small technology-based SMEs, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, they may even involve community-based cooperatives so that we can have a genuine participation and new business relationships as these, clusters are formed. Yeah. And we feel that those are game changers, generally speaking, as clusters, but also that there were several industries in which this will be finding its place. I've mentioned the two, and then we can add oil and gas, and definitely we can add a whole new range of alternative renewable energies in the form of wave energy, ocean current energy, tidal energy, and so forth.
Yusuf, fantastic. That sounds terrific. I'm going to come back to you in the future. It's something that we're very interested in and see the kind of work that you guys are doing at the university. It's really beating a new path for South Africa with regards to the potential we have in the ocean. That's Yusuf Adam coming to you live from Port Elizabeth. Of course, he is the project manager at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. They've been tasked with, bringing to life all this, all the potential out of the ocean economy, one should say. Let's take a quick look now at a comment of the day. Of course, this one from Bimbola Vesmuzic says, "Goodbye, Stephen, Ekuchukwu, Keshi, so long my hero. You gave Nigeria everything, from your youth to adulthood. Bye-bye." What a fantastic words. Fantastic words those are, as we remember the great man. Don't forget, we ask you the question of the day. How do you remember Stephen Keshi? That's what we want to know from you. Question of the day. How do you remember this legendary African man? Moving on, Bernie Sanders, he refused to accept defeat again to Hillary Clinton late yesterday, vying to continue the fight for the Democratic nomination despite his rival declaring herself the party's flag bearer for the U.S. presidential race. Let's have a look at some of the tweets that's coming in. Of course, it's turning nasty within the Democratic Party. Dave Foley, so I might fully appreciate this moment. I wish I was a woman, except for the unequal pay and near constant threat of violence, says Dave. Yeah, no. And then, of course, Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump, says, "Hillary Clinton is unfit to be president. She has bad judgment, poor leadership skills, and a very bad and destructive track record. Change." And what do you have, Donald Trump? Sound like he was describing himself there for a minute. Edwin Lee says, "Congratulations, Hillary Clinton, ready to stand united to elect the first woman president. I'm with her," says Edwin Lee. Bill Clinton says, "I keep saying Hillary is the ultimate change maker. And tonight she proved it. I couldn't be more proud. History made. I'm with her," the hashtag. And there you see Hillary Clinton lapping it all up. She's saying, "I'm going to the White House." That's probably why she's wearing the white frock and not the blue one today. She says, "Don't let anyone tell you that great things can't happen in America." Hillary, just hope that we can get to bless some other nations other than only America. Let's take a quick look at what's on our Facebook page now. Now, our very own Chief Operating Officer, Claudi Motsuneng, says the public broadcaster stands by its decision not to show people burning property in its news bulletins. It's not going to change. Then in Niger, tens of thousands of people have fled their homes in the southeastern parts of that country following near back-to-back attacks since last Friday by Boko Haram insurgents on the town of Bosso in the troubled Difa region. In the U.S., bowing to pressure from fellow Republicans, Donald Trump said yesterday he would no longer talk about a Mexican-American judge after the U.S. House Speaker Paul Ryan denounced the presidential candidate's criticism of the jurist as textbook racism. Yes, he said he's not qualified because he's of Mexican heritage. His parents moved to America in the 1940s. Can you imagine that? On our Facebook page, please like our page. Please like our page. Sounds like I'm begging. Anyhow, we're still busy with World Ocean Day now. Operation Pakisa, that's the blue economy, ocean economy, has identified massive untapped offshore oil and gas resources. Indications are that South Africa's coast and adjoining waters have possible resources of approximately 9 billion barrels of oil. This is equivalent to 40 years of South Africa's oil consumption. The oil and gas exploration off the South African coast over the next decade could inject billions of US dollars, yes, US dollars, into the economy. Now, over the next 20 years, this could lead to the production of 370,000 barrels of oil and gas every single day, thereby reducing the country's reliance on oil and gas imports. The project has the potential to create a further 130,000 jobs. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of South Africa Oil and Gas Alliance, Niall Kramer, he joins us in our Cape Town studio. A very good morning, Niall. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Eben.
Niall, billions and billions in 40 years of it can cover 40 years of oil consumption in South Africa. That's the kind of go forward, if one can call it that the South African economy needs now, isn't it?
Well, it clearly would be a catalytic opportunity. And the South African Oil and Gas Alliance is an economic development agency, so we work to make the space attractive both to South Africans and to businesses that want to be active in this space. We have a membership of services companies in oil and gas. So for us, it is clearly, it is a big, big opportunity. And I do think it is a catalytic opportunity. Your earlier interviewees were talking about the responsibility, environmental issues, and I am particularly pleased that this interview flows off those because this industry has no interest in being irresponsible, and working with the environment, acting responsibly, would be one of the things that responsible operators do.
We've seen what irresponsible operators do further up the west coast of Africa, and I'm sure we've learned the lessons of the mistakes that have been made in places like Port Harcourt in Nigeria, for instance.
Well, I'm not sure that the analogy is a good one. You know, we're talking about the oceans economy. In that area, you're talking about onshore activity. But South Africa does, in fact, have a good record. We have had seismic exploration of the west coast and of the east coast, the south coast recently, and over the years we've had what was then moss gas and Sukor, finding 1 trillion cubic feet of gas in the Southern Ocean off Mossel Bay, and the behavior has been very, very good. And it's certainly something that an industry like ours, oil and gas, is very, very attuned to. And when you talk to any of the large operators, they are clearly very, very concerned about doing this job responsibly. I know one of the concerns that people have is what has happened elsewhere in the world. But rest assured, this is an industry that learns very, very quickly.
I wanted to ask you about why has it taken so long for us to tap into the vast resources that we have? You know, we've contributed negligible oil and gas output over the last 3 decades, for that matter. Why has it taken us so long?
Well, firstly, the cost of drilling offshore is enormous. So to make those kind of assessments to go or not go is quite a big decision. So you need good data. So we have a lot of seismic activity going on that has gone on recently. And don't underestimate that we did find 1 trillion cubic feet off Mossel Bay. There are activities that are likely to come to something off the west coast, in the Orange Basin. People are about to drill. So rest assured, this is a space that people are interested in. If you look at a map of South Africa, the acreage around the country has got the major companies very, very interested. The big issue for us is that the price has gone down. So, 2 years ago, the price was over $120. At the beginning of this year, it went down to the mid-20s. It's now up. Last night was over 50. So it's volatile, the price, but it is still possibly not that attractive enough to bring explorers in at the moment. However, from an oceans point of view, the big opportunity is coming with LNG. LNG is liquid natural gas. A pronouncement has been made that it will be brought in. 3+ gigawatts will be brought in to 3 ports. We don't know what those ports will be yet. A memorandum of information will be coming out shortly. And then people who are wanting to tender will be able to make their decisions. So the 3 ports are Saldanha, Kruger, and Richards Bay. And our members, the SAOGA members, are the people in the value chain, in the ecosystem of services around oil and gas. And we're very upbeat about what the economic development potential around there could be.
Niall, you've answered both my final questions as well. Fantastic work, mate. Thank you. And all the best. You know, South Africa has high expectations from what you're going to bring to the table for us. all the best in the work going forward.
Thank you, Evan.
That's Niall Kramer. Now, he's the Chief Executive Officer, that is, of the South Africa Oil and Gas Alliance. He came to us live from Cape Town this morning. Of course, we're counting down to the ballot box draw that's going to take place shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. But the big story of the day, no doubt, I've got Kendall Mahamati here with me. Kendall, the big story today, there's no doubt that we're all mourning the death of the big boss.
Absolutely. Stephen Keshi, the big boss, dead.
At the age of 54.
At the age of 54. He dropped dead last night or early this morning, we don't know. The thing is, this man had a huge career ahead of him. He's massive on the continent, and a lot of people didn't expect him to be dying. He's been linked to moves previously to Bafana Bafana, and most recently to become the coach of Orlando Pirates.
I have it on good authority that the big boss was about to pen a deal with Orlando Pirates. Now, it's not Robert Marawa that told me. It's somebody linked to the club itself, that he was on the point of signing the deal, and we are expecting him in South Africa within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's a big setback, I think, for Nigeria, but currently it's an even bigger setback for South African football. Imagine us having a character like this, larger than life, in South Africa. It would really push our league forward, I think, because let's be honest, he's probably one of the top 3 coaches on the continent.
No, definitely he is. I mean, like you said a little earlier, he's one of the only 2 men who've ever played and won AFCON and coached and won AFCON. Not a lot of people can say they've done that, and he's one of only 2.
No doubt about that. Nigeria is in mourning today, but so are we down here in South Africa today, no doubt about that. Now, before we go, last night, the Proteas put themselves back in the picture.
Oh, yeah.
I like the line that you were running. It was a shot in the arm for transformation, because
absolutely
8 players of colour in the side, and in the month of Ramadan, 5 Muslim players as well. It's the winds of change are sweeping in South African cricket. They always get criticised, but I can tell the guys at Cricket South Africa are doing a super job. Harun Lorgat, Altaf Kazi, those type of guys. It's come a long way, cricket.
They have ripped that shroud of prejudice away and turned the tide back. It's fantastic stuff by Cricket SA by choosing this team and actually winning.
Yeah, and it's happened organically. It's not something that's forced through quotas. It's just a simple organic process, and that's what we should all trust and believe in South Africa. And we should trust the same with Alistair Coetzee and the road that the Springboks are on right now. Absolutely. It can happen organically. We do have the talent. We should follow the New Zealand model. Yep. What they've done with all the Pacific Islanders. Today they're #1 in the world. We can do the same thing.
We can absolutely do the same thing. We're going to be covering all of this and more in a sports bulletin a little later in the next hour.
We'll see you then. But don't go away. You're watching Newsroom. A very good morning. Cue time is just after 10 a.m. on this Wednesday morning. We're waiting to go live to the IEC headquarters here in Centurion, of course, for the ballot box draw there this morning to decide which party will go to the top of the ballot papers. That is also today. Well, we ask you a question, but it's sad news. We ask you, how do you remember the late great Stephen Keshi, Nigerian former player and former coach, won the African Nations Cup, as both passed away suddenly this early this morning. On our Facebook page or at SABC Newsroom is where you can interact with us. Let's take a look at one of the best tweets that have come in so far. This one from Unati. Unati says, "I will remember him when he took Nigeria to the AFCON finals and won it. A loss to Orlando Pirates too." Yes, Unati, he was on the verge of signing for Orlando Pirates within the next week or so, I'm told. So very sad news for his family, his 4 children, and of course, South Africa and Nigerian football. There you go. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Stephen Keshi, the great man, 1962 to 2016. 54 years young. Of course, I just reminded you that we're waiting for the ballot box draw to take place live at the IEC headquarters in a couple of minutes. But until that happens, let's carry on with the news. Rene's got updates on the stories that are current right now. Let's go there.
In just a moment, the IEC will host a draw to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for the August local government elections. Ratings agency Fitch to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating. Africa mourns the death of former Nigeria captain and coach Stephen Keshi, who died from a cardiac arrest at the age of 54. Let's take a look at what's coming up in your sports headlines with Kendall Makamate.
Rene, thank you very much. That moment of silence gave me goosebumps. Stephen Keshi was truly a great, and we will be mourning his passing and condolences to his family. Good morning to all of you. It is truly sad news that we wake up to this morning. This is what's coming up in sports today.
I don't build my team around the player, I build my team around the team.
Former Super Eagles coach Stephen the Big Boss Keshi dies of cardiac arrest at the age of 54 in Benin City. And the beleaguered Proteas strike a telling blow for transformation as they pull off a shock win over rampant Australia with 8 players of colour in the side.
Through it, right through it. This has been a very good opening burst in combination here between Parnell and Romana.
Huge numbers out to the left, most of them forwards. St. David's being one of them. Davids goes in for try number 2.
And the Baby Box beat Japan 59-19 in their opening 2016 Under-20 World Championship match. Of course, all this and more we've got for you in the Sports Bulletin. Please do remember, we'll be bringing that to you at around about 10:40 or so. But for now, it's back to the main desk for news.
The Independent Electoral Commission will host a draw today to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for August local government elections. Representatives of the parties are expected to attend the event at the IEC's headquarters in Centurion. IEC spokesperson Kate Bapela says the process will not differ from that used in previous elections. Once the first party has been drawn, it will top the ballot paper and the rest will follow alphabetically. Now we'll be crossing to the IEC headquarters in just a moment. But before we go there, let's take a look at what else is making the news. Government security cluster is expected to meet today following the issuing of a terror alert by the U.S. Embassy in South Africa. The U.S. government earlier warned its citizens in South Africa of a possible terrorist attack targeting American tourists who frequent upmarket malls and shopping centres. Britain and Australia have also issued travel alerts for their citizens visiting South Africa. The U.S. Embassy has reiterated their position on its terror alert. SABC COO Claudi Motsoeneng remains unapologetic about the decision not to show footage of protests that are destructive and regressive. Motsoeneng was part of a panel discussion with other media houses hosted by National Press Club in Pretoria to debate the corporation's decision. Veteran journalist and executive director of the Press Council, Joe Tlotwe, also aired his views on the matter.
The SABC decided last month that the corporation will not broadcast footage of protesters destroying public property. Motsoeneng has defended this decision as responsible journalism.
I'm not apologetic about what is happening within the organization. And journalists can't tell us, or print media, or any commercial radio station. They can't decide for SABC. We are there to do our job and will always do our job.
But other media practitioners say the media shouldn't choose for the public what to see.
It is our responsibility as media people to inform the public about the state of the nation fully. We don't have the luxury to decide that this bit the South African public shouldn't see or know. If you don't like what the mirror tells you, that you are not the fairest of them all, you don't smash the mirror.
Hlola says implementation of this decision amounts to censorship, but Motsoeneng remains unfazed by this criticism.
Those who believe that SABC is wrong, go and complain there, and we'll see you there. Go and complain and launch a complaint to say, hey, SABC is not showing this certain visuals. Because we said certain visuals, not all visuals. So I want to challenge you today to go there and lodge that complaint. I can assure you, you won't make it.
The SABC COO has urged other media groups to rethink their role in society and condemn violence.
Ratings agency Fitch is expected to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating later. The country avoided a downgrade to junk status on Friday when S&P Global Ratings kept debt at investment grade. Fitch is widely expected to follow suit. Growth figures are also due today, with some economists predicting that GDP has shrunk in its first quarter. Meanwhile, business confidence has fallen to a record low. The Business Confidence Index released yesterday by RMB shows that it's fallen to a 7-year low. Africa's football fraternity is mourning the death of Stephen Keshi, the former coach of Nigerian national soccer team, the Super Eagles. Keshi's brother, Emmanuel Ado, and the Nigerian Football Association earlier said the soccer icon died of cardiac arrest this morning. King Keshi, as he was affectionately known, was the only Nigerian to have won the Africa Cup of Nations as a player and a coach. He rose to national prominence when debuted for the Super Eagles in 1981 at the young age of 20. He was recently linked to the local team Orlando Pirates. The Nigerian football legend is survived by 4 children and his mother. It's not yet known what caused the fire that destroyed the Durban Christian Centre's Jesus Dome last night. Firefighters battled for hours to extinguish the flames that engulfed the mega church in Durban's Mayville suburb near the N3. No injuries have been reported. The church was founded in 1979. A high-level investigation into the cause of the fire is expected. The Independent Electoral Commission is hosting a draw to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for August local government elections. We cross there live to the draw.
We are here this morning because Pizzo repititswe ke lona, and we are a great host, as you know by now. In front of me there, the story is being told. Those white balls are telling a story of electoral democracy. CEO, I know. And then also we've got journalists from radio, television, and print. And we also have got IEC officials amongst us who have joined this gathering, where it's very much a historic moment, because after this morning, we are going to a next level of elections preparation. From here, another step in ensuring that we are getting closer to the 3rd of August is almost on our doorstep. Here in front of you is Kate Babela, the spokesperson of the IEC. I'm definitely looking forward to hosting this event because it's historic. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the Electoral Commission of South Africa. I know some people, VC, I don't know whether they were lighting candles or they were praying, but I know someone is looking forward to being #1 on the ballot paper this year, I know. So I'm in that space. I didn't sleep well as well because I was just making sure that everybody is in that box. With 56 days to go, I'm going to call the Vice Chairperson of the IEC, Ntate Teritselani, just to give us a sense of where we are so that we progress to that box. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Program Director Kate Bapela. Let me firstly start by apologizing for our chairperson, Mr. Glenn Mashinini, as well as Commissioner Bongani Finga. As you know, we are now on the election mode as an organization, and these 2 commissioners have got to cover 3 provinces in 3 days. So Commissioner Mashinini is now in KwaZulu-Natal. From KwaZulu-Natal, he's got to go to Northern Cape. From Northern Cape, he's got to go to Mpumalanga as part of our preparation. And Commissioner Finga is also, he was in Cape Town yesterday, and he's doing Eastern Cape and other provinces. All of them are busy with the responsibility for this organization. Having said that, I've got to acknowledge my colleagues, Commissioner Janet Love, who is here with us, as well as Commissioner Judge Makanya. They're also very, very busy people, but we have forced them to come to today's session because it's important for us as commissioners to be here with the leadership of the political parties. But I also want to acknowledge the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Mwepya, and his team of Deputy CEOs, Dr. Masuku, as well as Mr. Mamabolo. The 3 of them, together with Fiona, have not been sleeping for the past few days. And I know that they are going to say that we should do something about it when it comes to payday. And I doubt the Commission will look into it. But thank you very much for the work that we've been doing. we are here largely because of the work that we've been doing for the past few days. Thank you very much. But also let me thank the leadership of the political parties that are here. Political parties are a very important partner in the electoral process. We cannot do anything as a commission without consulting with the leadership of the political parties. And that relationship indeed has solidified our processes, and it has made our processes even much more easier. And we're grateful for this relationship that we have with you. I want to thank the media that is here. We also accept and recognize the important role that the media plays in terms of dissemination of information and also clarifying the message of the political parties so that the electorate can be able to participate in the process. I want to acknowledge the leadership of the IEC, the staff, and everybody who is here with us here today. These are the people who are safeguarding the integrity and the character of our organization. And we are perpetually grateful for the work that they do in our organization. I've been advised that today's proceedings will be very, very short because the main purpose is essentially to make sure that we conduct the draw to establish the order of political parties on proportional representation ballot papers for the 2016 municipal elections. The selection of the order of parties on ballot paper through a lucky draw has been the established practice for all our elections over the past 21 years of democracy in South Africa. It remains the fairest and just way of determining the order of parties on the ballot paper. There is still some difference of opinion about the impact of the position of names on the ballot papers. Many studies have been conducted and have found positive correlation between the position of a party and the results. But many studies have also found that a variety of factors, including publicity, engagement, education of voters, and many other factors, may modify or even nullify ballot paper position effect. One of the most recent studies on the impact of position of names on ballot papers was conducted in 2014 at Aarhus University in Denmark. The researchers included one of the former commissioners of this organization, Jorgen Elklit, an international member of the interim IEC of 1994. Their research, based on election results for more than 10,000 candidates listed on 103 different ballot papers, found that ballot position did have a causal or a causal effect on election results in the PR system. So today's draw is not inconsequential, but also it is not a sole determinant for a party to win an election. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, South Africa enjoys a multi-party democracy, an important measure through which we assess the relative health and vibrancy of our democracy is the number of political parties and candidates who contest our elections. In this regard, we have seen a steady growth in a number of political parties contesting municipal elections since 2000. In that year, there were 79 political parties contesting various PR ballots. 6 years later, that number had grown by 23% to 97, and it grew by another 25% between 2006 and 2011. This year, we have seen yet another significant leap in the number of political parties contesting municipal elections. There are currently a total of 206 different political parties, including community-based organizations, ratepayers associations, and other locally based structures which have submitted candidates lists and will be contesting the elections. The elections, as you may be aware, it's 8 metropolitan municipalities, 205 local municipalities, and 44 district councils. That is an increase of 69% since 2011. The Western Cape tops the list with 77 political parties. It will be followed by Limpopo with 56, Gauteng with 45, and the Eastern Cape with 43. The smallest number of parties contesting the elections will be found in the Northern Cape with only 18 political parties participating. I'm not trying to encourage people of the Northern Cape also to increase the number of parties contesting the elections. We are happy with the number we have. Limpopo has shown the most significant growth in the number of parties since 2011, growing from just 22 parties which contested the 2011 elections to 56 in this year's elections. This is a growth of 155%. In terms of the metros, the metropolitan councils with the longest PR ballot paper will be the Western Cape with 37 political parties contesting. The shortest metro will be Buffalo City in the Eastern Cape with 10 parties contesting the metro. The number of parties contesting the metros is as follows. Buffalo City, 10 political parties. City of Cape Town, 37. Ekurhuleni, 26. eThekwini, 26. City of Johannesburg, 28. Mangaung, 13. Nelson Mandela Bay, 19. Whilst Tshwane Metro will have 20. 4 municipalities in the Eastern Cape, namely Blue Crane Route, EC 123, Great K, EC 126, Ngqushwa, EC 131, and Ingoba, Yetemba, share the shortest PR ballot paper with just 3 parties contesting each municipality. At the same time that we are also seeing a growth in the number of political parties, we are also seeing a growth in the number of independent candidates contesting these elections. In 2006, there were 663 independent candidates contesting those elections. This grew by 14% to 774 in 2011. We are still capturing, as you may be aware, because not every person took advantage of our online system. So we are capturing and validating the various candidate nominations received by the deadline on Friday, but the early indications are that approximately 970 independent candidates will be contesting this year's municipal elections. It is very, very possible that by the time we complete, it will either be around 1,000 independent candidates that will be contesting this year's elections. In total, to date, more than 66,000 candidates have been captured as part of the candidate nomination submission process. Most encouragingly, nearly 57% of this, or about 38%, were submitted using the electronic means or the new innovation that we have introduced, an online candidate nomination system. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, we are now just 58 days or 8 short weeks away from the municipal elections. Our preparations are well advanced and we are proceeding accordingly. The voters' roll has been certified and contains a record of 26.3 million registered voters who will be casting their vote on the 3rd of August. That is 2.7 million more voters than we had during the previous municipal elections in 2011, or an increase of 11.3%. On Friday this week, on the 10th of June, the application window for special votes will open until the 8th of July. For the first time, voters will be able to apply for special votes online via our website. And applications for special votes at your voting stations will also be possible via SMS this year. As I mentioned, the candidate nomination process is closed and the validation of the nomination is underway. On Monday, parties and candidates who have not fully complied with the nomination administrative requirements will be notified and will have a week to comply or to rectify whatever issues that would have been identified in the process of their submission. By the 1st of July, we will issue certificates to parties and candidates and will begin printing approximately 80 million copies of 4,649 unique ballot papers for this election. Ladies and gentlemen, the quality of this year's municipal election will be determined by the quality of the voters' roll, the quality of our logistics, as well as the quality of our staff. These are all receiving due attention and priority by the Electoral Commission. But the freeness and the fairness of the elections will also be determined by, to a large extent, by the political environment. The violent protests and the killings of individuals intending to contest the elections has raised serious questions and concern about what we need to do as individuals, as institutions, as communities to arrest the situation before it gets out of control. It is important that our actions reinforce a firm belief that the only way of addressing issues currently gripping our country is through a democratic means. Those who are elected in position of responsibility must also recognize that they are ambassadors of a democratic system and must be able to demonstrate its fruits and benefits to the communities that elect them. In other words, councillors and public representatives who are elected must deliver on their promises to their constituencies in order to reinforce a belief in the benefit of a democratic order. Political leaders and parties must also realize the enormous responsibilities they carry. Political parties, as well as community leaders, irrespective of political affiliation, must help bring about stability in the country, must be circumspect about public statements that they make. Of course, the role and responsibility of other stakeholders in the electoral process does not detract from the enormous responsibility that the Commission bears as a custodian of free and fair elections. From our side, as a Commission, we have the staff, we have the system, and we have the commitment to protect the integrity of our elections. All of us, as commissioners and the staff of the Electoral Commission, are well aware of our responsibility to assure the country that the elections will take place on the 3rd of August and that these elections will be free and fair. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you so much, VC. I must say that the moment is here, and I'm going to need helping hands. Where's Granville? I'm going to need helping hands in terms of placing the balls. Let me just confirm, ladies and gentlemen, that we've got in front of us all the 206 political parties contesting municipal elections for 2016. All of these balls, the white balls in front of us, will be placed inside the transparent box, and then from then we'll begin the public draw process. I'm seeing hands at the back. I'm not sure, as CEO, what the hands are all about. I've got two gentlemen who've got their hands up. I'm not sure what are the hands all about. Can I request the CEO to, okay, please allow us to just finish the process, and then can I get the Vice Chairperson to this VC? I just want to be sure that.
Ray Risson used to be a member of staff of the Electoral Commission, and he is aware of the processes and the importance of the process that we're about to go through. Now I want to appeal to Ray Risson to get seated, and then we will handle whatever issues that he wants to raise with us after we've dealt with the issue. I thank you very much for your cooperation. Mr. Risson, as a former member of the staff of this commission, you understand the process much better than many political parties that are here. And I want to appeal to you to please get seated. This process does not allow for an objection, but you can raise your objection with us, and I'm available to come to you, receive your objection, and deal with it on behalf of the Commission. And I plead with you once again, please, Mr. Risson, can you sit down so that we proceed with our processes? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Get seated. We will proceed with our arrangement.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson of the IEC, Mr. Terry Tselani. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to proceed with the public draw of the first position on the ballot paper for 2016 municipal elections. Joining me is my colleagues at Granville. I'm going to open the transparent box in the witness of IEC leadership, political parties, the media, as well as the esteemed guest of the Commission this morning. It's a process that is transparent as you can get any transparent. I'm going to open the box. All the balls will go in, and then once they've gone in, I'll see what is the next step in terms of drawing the first name on the 2016 municipal elections ballot paper. What we are going to do this morning has never happened before. We want the eyes, the voice that normally conveys our message to South Africans to this morning, do the actual work. I'm going to call my colleagues from the media. They always work with me around the clock. They take the news to South Africans. This is the moment, journalists, we've been waiting for. I'm going to request one journalist, a volunteer. I just want to confirm that viewers watching us from homes across the country, millions of them. I want to confirm in front of the most senior person in this gathering from the IEC, Vice Chairperson of the IEC, Ntate Teritselani, that VC, we have not prepped any journalists. I have not even spoken to them earlier than this morning, nothing at all. I'm going to request one of them. It doesn't matter who it is, from one. Just one to come and stir the box for us and pick us the first position. Let me do it more better, VC. Let me do it better. Let me get one lady from the media. I think that's better because they're the highest number on the voters roll. Let me get one lady from the media. Let's get one lady from the media. One lady from the media. This is Leranzo from ENCA. Yeah. Go up. Stay as much as stay. Stay, Leranzo. Stay a little bit, Leranzo. That's not staring. Stay. Stay a little bit. Fudiwa Leranzo. Stay at the corner. The judge is not happy. Stay. Yeah. Is she staring? No. Okay, Leranzo, yeah. Is it Are you okay? Okay, close your eyes, Leranzo. Okay. All right, Leranzo has closed her eyes. She's picked, ne? Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen? Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen? Come, Leranzo. Come, they can't hear you. Come here. Here's the sound. Here's the sound.
Sure, it's the Pan-Africanist movement.
Say it again.
The Pan-Africanist movement.
Pan-Africanist
movement.
Did you hear that? Pan-Africanist movement. Yeah, here it is. Pan. I thought there would be a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. A huge round of, when the names are now being displayed on the screen. This is how our ballot papers in metros are going to look as we proceed towards municipal elections. As the process of printing of ballot papers begins, South Africans are looking at the order of the ballot papers in metros as we begin a very important process. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see yourselves? 8 metros are being displayed, one after the other. Already you know where you are at home, where your political party is placed on the ballot paper. And also political parties, the media, and IEC officials are watching and observing and witnessing this moment as it unfolds, a historic moment indeed. Around a huge round of, there's no applause this morning. What's happening? VC, I'm missing your applause. I'm missing your applause. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This brings at your close the morning's proceedings. I can see pens are out. I'm not sure whether they already want to start marking the ballot papers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2016 municipal elections first position ballot, public ballot draw. Leranzo from ENCA drew the ballot for us in these elections. Let me take this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Vice Chairperson of the IEC, together with all the commissioners, the leadership of the IEC CEO, all the political parties, all the esteemed guests, my colleagues from the IEC, the media that supported this event this morning. Let me take this moment to thank you in joining us as we begin the process of printing ballot papers for municipal elections. It was indeed our shortest program, but it was our most significant as we prepare 2016 municipal elections. Join us for tea and light snacks from us at the Electoral Commission. Thank you very much for honoring us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, drive safely back home.
Well, there you have it. The Pan-Africanist movement will appear at the top of the election ballot list. We just came live from the event there in Centurion this morning where the national ballot paper order draw took place. We'll be taking a short break, but stay tuned for sports news is coming up after this break.
Why are electoral systems important in a democracy?
We think of democracy as voting people into office. The other side of the coin is that we would be more empowered and more accountable in politics if we could do the opposite, is vote them out when they don't deliver.
Politics is about who gets what, when and how.
If you look up on the internet as to how the head of state is chosen, it says monarchy.
We should not refer to an election as a contest.
So we should not shy away from the fact that an election is a contest. Of course, I do admit that it's not a bloody contest, or it shouldn't be a bloody contest.
It shouldn't be a bloody
people,
contest.
Fight and, of course, and
it should also not be a beauty contest.
Then it shouldn't be also a beauty contest either.
Swiss people, for example, can travel internationally with a cantonal passport, not even a national one. That's like us traveling on a Free State passport, for example.
Good morning, welcome back. My name is Kendall Makhamate. I've got your sports on Newsroom. Time hits just 10:43. Football fans have woken up this shock at the news that former Nigeria head coach Stephen Keshi has died at the age of 54. As manager, Keshi led the Super Eagles to lift the Africa Cup of Nations trophy in 2013. He personally won the tournament in 1994 as a player and captain of the Super Eagles, only the second person on the continent to have ever achieved this, winning the tournament as a player and then again as a manager. Up until last week, he was linked with the Orlando Pirates job, though he subsequently denied the rumors that he'd be taking over as coach. Media in Nigeria said the news was confirmed by a family member who said Keshi died of cardiac arrest in the early hours of this morning. The Nigerian Football Association also confirmed the news on their Twitter account. Keshi's wife, Kate, died in December and was said to be still in mourning for her. He is survived by his 4 children.
And you guys, the media guys, must...
Now, staying with footballing news, but may his soul rest in peace. And staying with footballing news, football players from South Africa lack the mentality and fighting spirit to compete at international level. This is according to football analysts following Bafana Bafana's failure to qualify for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Gabon. Instead, local football fans will be watching neighbours Zimbabwe in the biennial tournament next year. Now, in a remarkable turnaround, South Africa scored a bonus point victory over Australia in the Tri-Nations ODI series in Guyana last night. A great performance from the bowlers saw them easily defend what had seemed a below-par target with ease. Right, now we go on to other sporting stories where the Baby Box opened their 2016 Under-20 World Championship campaign with a comprehensive 59-19 win over Japan at Manchester City's Academy Stadium in Manchester, England. The Junior Springboks produced a dominant second-half performance, scoring 6 unanswered tries to overturn a 19-14 half-time deficit.
Traditionally, South Africa's game plan is based on physicality. However, ahead of the tournament, the junior box coach Davy Theron described his squad selection as one that reflects a team that looks to play with pace and high intensity. something that was evident early on in the contest.
Over the line, and there is the first try on the board. It's come from the blindside flanker.
However, South Africa made too many enforced errors and lacked accuracy in passing, and that allowed Japan back into the contest. When the Japanese dotted down for their third try of the match, the contest looks set to be a repeat of 2015, when Japan stunned South Africa in the 2015 World Cup held in England. However, it took a moment of brilliance from Junior Box to reduce the deficit to just 5 points before the break.
He's wearing 12 though, and JT Jackson has got the second try.
The Junior Box made up for their first half performance, scoring 3 tries inside the opening 10 minutes of the second half to take complete control of the contest. From there on, it was all about the Baby Box knocking the wind out of their opposition. Next for South Africa is Argentina, who came from behind to beat France 24-15. Joseph Mohali, SABC News.
Now, the Springboks have been boosted by the arrival of their 3 overseas players. Experienced 8th man Dwayne Vermeulen says it's exhilarating to be part of the Boks setup once again. But he cautioned against underestimating Ireland, who he described as a very clever side.
There was controversy surrounding Vermeulen's selection, with his club owner at French club Toulon threatening not to pay his salary. But the tough, burly back row forward is relishing the opportunity to represent the Boks once again at home.
You know, you get those goosebumps and everything, everything goes, and it's a great feeling. So, very happy to be here and happy to be a part of this Springbok squad. And I'd do anything to play for this team.
Ireland have won 4 of their last 6 tests against South Africa, but have never won a test in South Africa. They will provide quality opposition.
They a very clever side. They know how to play the South Africans. So I think we're going to expect some. We'll be expecting some tricks. They might have something up their sleeve, but we're just going to stick to our game plan. We want to focus on what we want to do and what we want to achieve. We haven't had much time together, so just focus on the basics for now, and then we can evolve from there.
Alistair Coetzee and his squad have had limited time together, so the fans shouldn't expect too much too soon. But the Boks should prove too strong for the Irish, and victory is something that will be expected.
It is what it is in terms of time. We've got to recognise the right things to do in the week to get us a result on Saturday. Now, everything won't be perfect in week 1. If that was the case, then Test match rugby would be easy. This is a 4-year journey, but we focus only on Saturday.
4 Boks squad members have been released to play for the SAA side against the England Saxons in Bloemfontein on Friday evening. Skara Intobeni, Sikambuza Notcher, Nick Groom and Garth April will join coach Johan Ackerman and his squad. The Springbok and Ireland starting lineups will be announced on Thursday. Craig Murray, SABC News, Cape Town.
For the first time in history, South Africa has qualified 5 boats for the Olympic Games. Continuing on from where they left off last time out at the 2012 London Games, the team will be looking to garner another medal or 2 come the Rio Games. And the message from South African rowing coach Roger Barrow is, get to the final and anything can happen.
"200 kilometers and 25 hours on the water a week. That dedication demonstrates a team hungry for success. It's a bigger team at the Olympics, and they share the same mission.
We do see ourselves as a lion pack. You hunt together, and we're certainly going to go hunting in Rio.
It's 10 weeks until the games begin in Rio. At this stage, it's all about wrapping up preparations. Since the last World Championships, the team has shown great improvement. Based on the progress the rowers have made over the 4-year cycle, a lot can be expected from the team.
For us, it's not about just going to the Olympics and participating. It's about going to the Olympics and winning. And we've got to keep that culture strong in our team, as participation isn't good enough. So I think with that hunger and that extra motivation on the athletes finally coming up, we've done a lot of good work, and now it's about just turning that work into speed.
In London 2012, the lightweight men's 4 team claimed gold. The team is no longer together. However, James Thompson and John Smith will compete together in the lightweight men's double. It's not an easy transition in disciplines, but they have managed it well. The two have become a force to be reckoned with in the world.
We've learned over the years that you've got to focus on the process every day in training, and just keep your head down and doing it. my expectations are very high always, but it's an execution of a great race is my expectation, and if I put that out, hopefully we'll come home with what we really want.
For the majority, it's their maiden Olympics. They have done well for themselves during the 4-year cycle leading up to the Games. Ursula Hobler is one of the debutants who will compete in the lightweight women's double sculls. She partners Kirsten McCann. They are ranked amongst the top 5 in the world.
After the guys got the gold, I mean, it inspired us as the athletes to say, wow, this is incredible. I want that too. And so now the result is that we've qualified 5 boats. I mean, that's incredible. And just out of a bunch of athletes who just absolutely love the sport, and then the system that Roger's created, AJ's coaching, our support staff, it is unmatched. And I really think that's what's made the momentum more than anything else.
The team recently had a training camp in Lesotho and some good competition in Europe. They will now remain at this Roodeplaat Dam for their final training schedules. SABC News, Pretoria.
Now that's where we're going to leave it with the sports. I just found out that one of Phil Hawkins' friends is on one of those boats that have qualified for the Olympic Games. So we've got somebody to root for in studio here. It's now time for the weather with the man himself, Phil Hawkins.
How does this extreme heat affect basic conditions of living?
Food spoils more readily, and the risk of food poisoning outbreaks or food poisoning in a household.
Should we experience another heat wave soon, and it's coming?
First sign is always thirst. Thirst is a sign that already your body started to be dehydrated, and that's a very early sign that most people will be able to sort of pay attention to and then act on. That doesn't warrant any serious medical attention. But the minute that you start to feel slightly nauseous, that you start to feel dizzy, that's a sign that you need to stop what you're doing, get out of the sun, get into a cool area, slow down your intensity, get hydrated, cool down.
Join Dr. Sello Mutawung every Saturday from 9 till 10 in the morning.
Very good afternoon. You're watching the Midday Report.
Lunchtime news amplified.
But for now, this is what they call home. Their hope to shift to a higher ground seems to be against the tide.
Midday Report provides you with more than just news stories.
I just want Port Elizabeth to know that they own a world-class theatre.
Good afternoon. You're with the news at 1 in the headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. This is News Live. I'm Natasha Thorpe. Let's take a quick look at what's coming up in your headlines.
Good afternoon and welcome to A View from the House.
For all things news, tune in to Midday Report weekdays at 12 noon, only on the SABC News channel.
There are a difference between a Ponzi, a pyramid scheme, and a stokvel, or this particular one, which the representative called an alternative financial system.
It's got its own currency. It's got its own banking system.
How do you even trace? The minute there's no track record, the minute there's no banking transactions, it means that we are talking about something that is floating in the air.
It's a system of mutual donation exchange.
30% return on investment, Clive. Is that even a reality here in South Africa? Are they perhaps blessers in disguise?
I'm not going to mention anything about blessings.
What's wrong with Triple M? What is illegal here? Who is being defrauded here, Trevor?
It is about the best interest of the citizens of this country.
But the citizens are the ones who are playing, who are members or participants in this. If you put in 15,000 rand, after 12 months you get 1.2 million rands. I mean, who wouldn't go for this?
Watch Question Time with me, Mpho Tsedu.
Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
They say you can judge a nation's greatness by how it takes care of those who cannot take care of themselves, how it lifts those who cannot stand on their own, how it gives a voice to the voiceless, how it gives hope to the hopeless. Every child deserves shoes on their feet, clothes on their back, knowledge in their head, and a smile on their face.
I social worker. Now you for district kids you protect the country safe.
Ballot started on the initiative of the NG Church of South Africa.
The place of safety ribafa mufutru e ba sa ufumana ngotsa mo ba tswanting di background ntsaro re ile ka bohle hore ba file ile bana ba le kara environment ya lelapa e tshwana le ngwane molemo. Who makes the heaven and the earth? Rena le bana ba 29 from 10 years we are 18. Bana bana ba tswa ka mahaeng a different, ba bang ba neglected ke batswadi, ba bang ha bana batswadi totally ha ona batho ba ba hlokomelang. They must work hard. Abalemo ba ithuteng to tse ngata whatever ba rutang yona re na le experience eno re tswa teng
o monate mona mo bolokanang hobane mo bolokanang kana le batswadi ba ile hore ba ga hlokomela ba ga fala gato ha re tla kana le mathata ba re dudisa fatshe ba re thusa
ha se bana kaofela ba na le hlonono la ho fumana roof over their heads ba fumanang dijo ka mehla le matsatsi bana ra ba bona ba bangata ba dula mebileng mane ha bana batho ba hlokometseng
experience e ba iphilang mo strateng le nna.
It's the little things that mean so much more to the family of Bulukanang Youth Care Center. One day of our time can mean a lifetime memory for a child.
You are among the luckiest because Lenali, Lehai, Lenali Batuan Tokomelang. Don't let your current circumstance determine who Rufeta Pukai. I want to see a lot of you.
We celebrate these young ones with gifts of encouragement, hoping this moment will forever bring joy as they persevere.
A very big surprise for you guys. Tomorrow, local players are Chiefs Celtic.
Now, in the 8.5 years that we have been involved in Bolokanang, I have never seen this. It is a huge thing that you have done for us. We are extremely thankful for what was done by the SABC today, because I don't think you people realize what a big donation it is.
We salute those who raise a nation. SABC Foundation, inspiring greater possibilities.
Hello again, it's just after 11 here on SABC News. Of course, you're watching Newsroom with us. I'm with Rene West and Kenda Makamate this morning. If you're looking for Elvis, he has unfortunately left the building. He's on holiday in Thailand for a couple of weeks. He'll be back, I think, just after the 20th of June. So we'll be manning the ship until then. Of course, today, on a sad note, we had to start proceedings. The death of, untimely death, we have to add, of Stephen Keshi. The whole of social media is overrun with condolences, messages of condolence, and of course, memories of the great man. Kendall, there's been a lot being said on social media. We've had some live tweets coming in. What are people saying?
No, a lot of people are basically bemoaning the fact that he died so young at such an early age. He had so much more to offer the world of football. So a lot of sadness across the continent.
Here we go, Dr. Dlamini Zuma, Renee.
And Dr. Dlamini Zuma says the news of Stephen Keshi's death is shocking. It's a very sad day for African soccer. Keshi was a shining star as player and manager. R.I.P. Keshi.
And of course, Chelsea FC. That is Mikael standing there with Keshi. Of course, that must have been at the Nations Cup.
Yeah.
It looked like the World Cup. If you look at the billboards in the background there, all at Chelsea FC are saddened to hear our former Nigeria coach.
We can, if we can roll this on, we can see more of what's being said. There we go.
Stephen Keshi's death. He worked with Mikael and Victor Moses, and I also think that even the Bafana management and SAPA president Danny Odan, as well as coach Mr. Shaba, have said that they're devastated by the untimely passing of the former Nigeria coach Stephen Keshi. Yeah, those are our comments right now. Of course, there are lots of news in the offing. We've just had the ballot box draw that took place. You saw it live on this very show a little bit earlier. Let's go to Renan, who's manning the news desk for now for that update.
The Pan-Africanist Congress tops the ballot paper in the August municipal polls. Ratings agency Fitch to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating. And Africa mourns the death of former Nigerian captain and coach Stephen Keshi, who died from a cardiac arrest at the age of 54. Let's take a look at what's happening in your sports news with Kendall.
Renee, thank you very much. I'll tell you what, not much has changed in terms of what we're going to be headlining in the sports today. For everybody, they need to know Stephen Keshi was a great amongst greats in the soccer fraternity. So that's exactly, yes, that's exactly what we're going to be leading with for all of our viewers at home as well. Good morning to you. This is what we all woke up to this morning.
I don't build my team around the player, I build my team around the team.
Former Super Eagles coach Stephen, the big boss Keshi, dies of cardiac arrest at the age of 54 in Benin City. And the beleaguered Proteas strike a telling blow for transformation as they pull off a shock win over rampant Australia with 8 players of colour in the side.
Through him, right through him. This has been a very good opening burst in combination here between Parnell and Romano.
Huge numbers out to the left, most of them forwards. St. David's been one of them. Davids goes in for try number 2.
And the Baby Box beat Japan 59-19 in their opening 2016 Under-20 World Championship match.
First 5 minutes of the second half and again.
We will, of course, be trying to connect with a journalist out in Nigeria to get news, to get how they have responded to the death of Stephen Keshi. All of that at about 11:40 or so. But for now, it's back to the main desk for the news.
The Independent Electoral Commission has just completed its draw to determine which party will have its name on top of the ballot paper for August local government elections. The Pan-Africanist movement will appear at the top of the ballot paper. Earlier we said it is the Pan-Africanist Congress. We do apologize for that incorrect information. Now, representatives of the parties attended the event at the IEC's headquarters in Centurion this morning. IEC spokesperson Kate Bapela says the progress will not differ from that used in previous elections.
The main purpose is essentially to make sure that we conduct the draw to establish the order of political parties on proportional representation ballot papers for the 2016 municipal elections. The selection of the order of parties on ballot paper through a lucky draw has been the established practice for all our elections over the past 21 years of democracy in South Africa. It remains the fairest and just way of determining the order of parties on the ballot paper. there is still some difference of opinion about the impact of the position of names on the ballot papers. Many studies have been conducted and have found positive correlation between the position of a party and the results. But many studies have also found that a variety of factors, including publicity, engagement, education of voters, and many other factors, may modify or even nullify ballot paper position effect. One of the most recent studies on the impact of position of names on ballot papers was conducted in 2014 at Aarhus University in Denmark. The researchers included one of the former commissioners of this organization, Jorgen Elklit, an international member of the interim IEC of 1994. Their research, based on election results for more than 10,000 candidates listed on 103 different ballot papers, found that ballot position did have a causal or a causal effect on election results in the PR system.
Ratings agency Fitch is expected to announce its decision on South Africa's credit rating later. The country avoided a downgrade to junk status on Friday when S&P Global Ratings kept debt at investment grade. Fitch is widely expected to follow suit. Growth figures are also due today, with some economists predicting that GDP has shrunk in the first quarter. Meanwhile, business confidence has fallen to record lows. The Business Confidence Index released yesterday by RMB shows that it's fallen to a 7-year low. Africa's football fraternity is mourning the death of Stephen Keshi, the former coach of Nigerian national soccer team, the Super Eagles. Keshi's brother, Emmanuel Ado, and the Nigerian Football Association earlier said the soccer icon died of cardiac arrest this morning. The boss, as he was affectionately known, was the only Nigerian to have won the Africa Cup of Nations as a player and coach. He rose to national prominence when debuted for the Super Eagles in 1981 at the young age of 20. He was recently linked to the local team Orlando Pirates. The Nigerian football legend is survived by 4 children and his mother. That's your top news for now, and it's over to Eben.
Thank you very much, Renee. Now, of course, today is World Ocean Day, where we look at, well, pollution. We look at the ocean economy, Operation Pakisa. Now, the National Ports Authority is responsible for the safe, effective and efficient economic functioning of the national port system, which it manages in a sort of landlord capacity. It provides port infrastructure and marine services at the 8 commercial seaports here in South Africa. Examples of those: Richards Bay, Durban, Saldanha, Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, East London, Mossel Bay, and then Ngura. Transnet National Ports Authority is playing a key role in the South African government's Operation Pakisa. That's the Oceans Economy Initiative, through investments into the port system that are aimed at helping to grow the economy. Now, from the Transport National Port Authorities in Cape Town this morning, we're joined by Lindokuhle Mkhize, and then in Durban is Ricky Bickridge. Very good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, and good morning.
Lindokuhle, if I can start with you in Cape Town, because you've got 2 of the massive ports right next to each other, Saldanha Bay and then of course, Cape Town in Table Bay. Tell us about how do you view World Ocean Day, but also what are the developments that we should be on the lookout for?
Okay, from a Transnet National Ports Authority point of view, is that as a responsible authority and as a member of the IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization, which is an agency of the United Nations, we need to make sure that the assets and the infrastructure that we have and the vessels calling in comply to the legislation and regulations that are set by the government and the IMO. In that respect, we make sure that we perform monitoring of the water and make sure that the vessels that come into the country do not affect the species, the water species, that is currently living in the water. So we work with the cities and municipalities to also ensure constant monitoring of our water spaces.
Now, Ricky, you work directly with Operation Phakisa. Where do we stand with the project in relation to the ports authorities here in South Africa?
Thank you, Eben. Our viewers will recall that the President launched Operation Phakisa in 2014, and we are now busy with the implementation program for Operation Phakisa. The Transnet National Ports Authority is responsible for bringing into being the infrastructure that is going to grow GDP and that is going to grow the job numbers. And as such, we have roughly 2 different types of infrastructure investments that we are looking at. The first of these is the refurbishment and upgrade of the existing ship repair facilities within the South African ports. And the second of these is inviting private sector investment into the ports of Richards Bay, the ports of East London, and the ports of Saldanha Bay. In as far as the existing facilities are concerned, for the last year we have spent roughly about 272 million of the 2 billion that we have set aside for those upgrades. And that program will continue up until 2019, at the end of which we should be well suited to fulfill the current demand for ship repair facilities in the country and also to capture some new demand. But very importantly, we have, as Transnet National Ports Authority, issued an international request for proposal, a tender which is on the government's e-tender website, for an operator to come and invest and operate a multi-purpose offshore supply base in the port of Saldanha in order to support the offshore oil and gas initiatives on the West Coast. We have also published tenders for an expression of interest to develop 2 facilities for rig repairs in the port of Saldanha and to develop a boat building cluster in the port of East London, and finally to install a flexible capacity for ship repair with options of long-term capacity for ship repair in the ports of Richards Bay. Those tenders are out in the international market, and we are hoping to attract international investors along with local investors in partnership in order to build our marine capacity going forward.
Thank you, Ricky. Let me just go to Lindo in Cape Town. Lindo, I wanted to ask you about something that's very much in the news right now. We've just signed a treaty on illegal fishing, and that treaty entails that the ports really get involved with dealing with, call it fishing or fish pirates for that matter. Well, how you guys view this in Cape Town, and what kind of challenges do you think you face?
When it comes to illegal fishing in the ports, as a port system, number one, we need to create an environment where we can be able to allow people to come and do fishing, obviously within the regulated boundaries. When it comes to illegal fishing, we know that from the port of Nelson Mandela Bay, they have already signed an MOU with the Norwegian organization to be able to offer monitoring and tracking of illegal fishing. So from a port and regulatory point of view, we need to make sure that anything that is done within a regulated framework, and illegal fishing is obviously not tolerated.
Thank you. Let me just wrap up a final one with Ricky. Ricky, I wanted to ask you about pollution. You know, the ports are often accused of being big polluters, and in and around ports one can often see the effects of that. Within Operation Phakisa and your role within the ports, how do you guys aim to minimize the effects of that kind of pollution that we'll see with the kind of economic activity that you're hoping to achieve?
Thank you, Eben, and that is so correct. The issue of pollution at ports is a very wide issue. It involves a whole range of role players. As the Transnet National Ports Authority, we have signed an MOU to enlist the services of the CSIR to conduct ongoing monitoring within the port system. around water quality, around sediment quality. We also, as the Ports Authority, are mandated to carry out an oversight role, meaning that we need to ensure that all the port players and any operator within the port system then operates in a compliant manner. But the problem is much wider than just the port system itself. All our ports are constructed within wider estuarine areas, and we quite often find that pollution from the neighboring geographical regions flushes down into the harbor system. And the way to address that, and we've made considerable progress, is to work together with the local municipalities and the communities in and around the port to try and find ways to minimize the influx of that kind of pollution into the port system. So we do have a policing role within the port system, and as such, we also have powers where the TNPA as an authority can then stop any activity that continues to pollute. Of course, we work together with all the other law enforcement agencies around the issue of pollution, and all this is geared towards making sure that we operate our harbors and our ports in a sustainable manner, and that generations of the future can also enjoy the port system.
That's very important. Ricky mentioned generations for the future, but those generations, Lindo, we have to get them involved now in these processes. How do you get the community involved in the Western Cape in the work that you do, and maybe get them to understand the role that you play and the importance thereof?
Okay, thank you, Eben. One of the things that we've done is we have what we call a people's port concept, where ports have signed MOUs with the municipalities and cities in where they are situated. And that allows us to have constant communication with our communities, where we can share information, have a platform where if they want to apply for jobs, want to view port in an integrated and controlled manner, they are able to do that. And as such, we are having port festivals throughout the port system. We had one in Cape Town last month, as well as in Mossel Bay recently, where we are sharing about what is the function of the port and constant education and communication about what is the role of port in as far as economic growth and catalysts for job creations are concerned. And with that also, we have CSI projects that we have embarked on, where we are supporting various schools through math and science, and providing science labs and educational labs. So there's a lot of work that Transnet on a nationwide is doing to ensure that we educate and we constantly communicate about what is the role of the port system and the opportunities that are available throughout the port system.
Lindo, thank you very much for joining us from the Western Cape. Lindo Kuhle-Mkhize joining us, telling us what the Ports Authority are doing. Of course, we're talking about World Ocean Day today. Ricky, before I let you go, just give us a quick wrap-up. Talk to us about investment and the kind of things that people should be on the lookout for with regards to developments, not only in your region, but all around the country in the months and years to come.
Thank you, Evan. The Transnet National Ports Authority, along with Transnet, has a very comprehensive capital investment program. You know, there's roughly about 60 billion that's going to be invested in the ports over the next 7 odd years. And as we go into execution for those projects, the companies that we then deal with will be able to see the tenders that we put out in terms of an open, free, and transparent process. But as far as the major port developments are concerned in Operation Pakisa, in the port of Saldanha, the country hopes to establish an offshore oil and gas support base, which then would include the offshore supply base, and we are now looking for an operator to come and operate that offshore supply base. That operator will then have to invest in some of the back of port infrastructure in order to get that base operational. And we are hoping that that can happen by around January 2017. The next major development in the port of Saldanha is the construction of a new rig repair facility, and this is to talk to the demand on the west coast of Africa for rig repairs. We are looking at a private sector investor to come in and build that berth and operate it, and we feel that the investment in that facility can be up to about 3.5 billion rand, Further, in the port of Saldanha, we are focusing on the extension of what our viewers might now know to be the current Moss gas key, also to be utilized as a rig repair facility, and we feel that that should attract an investment of roughly around 2.7 billion rand. In the ports of Richards Bay, we are looking for service providers to come in and implement a floating dock for now, and we feel that that would probably look at an investment of roughly around 890 million rand. There are also opportunities in Richards Bay for tenderers to propose any further designs that one can look at in order to attract a ship repair oil and gas support market to Richards Bay. And finally, in the port of East London, knowing that there is a dire need for economic growth in the Eastern Cape area, we have potential in the port for the development of a boat building cluster, and we will be seeking a service provider to come in and invest in order to set up a boat building cluster for local consumption and also for export. And we feel that the investment in that facility could be roughly around 250 million rand. You know, the prize after all this investment, even, you know, is that collectively these new investments can create roughly about 17,000 new jobs, direct and indirect, for our country, and together with you know, the entire GDP investment. So we are very, very upbeat about this, and we are hoping to see you know, a whole range of takers that will be interested, well along, of course, with you know, with local companies. Yeah.
Ricky, fantastic. That's the good news. That's what's happening within the Ports Authority, of course, World Ocean Day, and Ricky Bigridge coming to you live from Durban, telling us what is happening within our ports, in and around our ports. Hundreds of thousands of jobs. Well, what they will try to be, well, they'll try and create that over the next few years. Anyhow, time for us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have our regular regional slot, so don't go away.
One other person has been shot dead and another is in a critical condition in hospital.
The CRL has laid charges against controversial televangelist Paseka Mutsoneng.
More than 1.3 million South Africans have been added in the past two registration weekends.
The International Monetary Fund warns that policy uncertainty could dampen economic growth in South Africa.
And all eyes are on the new Bok coach, Alistair Coetzee, his challenge to keep everyone in the country happy.
Welcome back. You're still in the newsroom here on SABC News. My name, of course, Evan Jansen. The time as well, shortly before the half-hour mark, after 11 in the morning. We're dealing with World Ocean Day. But as we mark World Environmental Month, which this month is, the green movement is gaining momentum here in South Africa. That's what they tell us. 5 years after the hosting of the UN Conference on Climate Change, that was COP17 in South Africa, more young people are working for a greener and sustainable society. And in keeping with an eco-friendly theme, Njanji Chauke took his lightest broadcast equipment, a cell phone, to capture and send us this report on an initiative by Generation Earth.
The blowballs sprayed. Starting in the Koppies of Ridgeway south of Johannesburg, this stream is a major tributary of the Vaal River. From a distance, it looks pristine, but upon closer inspection, badly polluted. Humans are to blame for the deteriorating quality of rivers and streams. From chemicals and fertilizers to sewage, plastic and other pollutants. It's for this reason that Thulani Vane and his friends are rolling up their sleeves. Under the banner of NGO Generation Earth, they spend the weekend cleaning rivers, streams, and parks in and around Johannesburg.
It's your future. So when you grow up, you also, the world might be beautiful today, but take about 30 years and you'll see that maybe a lot of things that you saw were beautiful may be gone due to what we have done to the earth and things like that. So you must always think about how you want to see the world in the future, and not just, okay, let's let the earth carry on, you know, it'll develop itself. It's not going to work like that. You also need to take a stand, and you also need to change the future, even for yourself and even for other people. So yeah.
Stand now, these youngsters will be better positioned to make informed and sustainable choices when they are in positions of leadership.
Because we need to be the change that we want to see, because if it's too late, we can't do anything about it, and we need to make a difference in the world. And because it's Youth Month, we need to be the youth of today and of the future.
And for young Andile, the dumping of waste into streams stops with her.
I found glass, and I found plastic and stuff.
And how did you feel when you saw plastic in the water? It's not supposed to be there.
I felt really angry, but then I picked it up and I put it in my plastic.
Oh, that's so nice, eh?
For some, the campaign was a family affair. Lure Delport brought her 81-year-old grandmother along.
So proud about this little young people of us, because it's so important to protect Mother Earth for every
generation.
And not only for the generation, for every person in South Africa and in the world, that we must look after Mother Earth.
And after hours spent cleaning the stream, it was time to reflect.
We came across all the different types of waste, so your food waste, your paper waste, plastic waste, but I think for me something that was very shocking was there just next to the stream where there were plastic bags that were filled with baby nappies, and it's shocking because Pick It Up is right here, and Pick It Up also visits our homes and collects our waste from us, so it's not really something that's a trouble for you to be able to dispose of your waste.
I think it's important because of the future. Do you want your kids to know what a tree looks like? Because right now with the whole climate change and global warming, it's the issues of deforestation. Fish are dying, plants are dying. So that's the main issue for the future of our country. Most people do not know, are not aware that this plastic bag could actually kill fish. So the main issue is awareness and us coming together to clean up our town, because this is our home and we need to do something about it.
Because if we don't do something, who is going to do it? If we don't stop and celebrate the earth every day and make every day a World Environment Day, who is going to do it? The people who care about the environment? The people who care about animals? No, it's up to us. It's our job to make sure that we are caring for the environment every single day.
It's hoped that some of the biggest polluters in the country will come to the party. These Generation Earth ambassadors are calling on the industrial sector, including mining, construction and power generators, to ramp up their green technologies.
It's clear that more South Africans are changing their mindset and going green. It's all about reducing our carbon footprint and conserving the environment for generations to come. Janji Chauke, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Yeah, we all have to learn to live with less. It's as simple as that. Learn to live with less, and please clean up wherever you are. Of course, World Ocean Day today coincides or falls smack in the middle of World Environmental Month, which is celebrated all over the world. Now, for more on World Environment Month, we are joined by the founder of Generation Earth, Ella Bella. You saw her with impassioned plea to the young people in that clip we just saw from Njunji. Ella Bella, very good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And of course, happy World Oceans Day.
Yes, we've been at it for the whole day. You know, it's incredible the kind of stuff that came out today. The thing that I didn't know that really disturbs me is one of the statistics is we have more plastic in the ocean today than we have fish.
And it's a scary statistic. There are so many different things that we need to be called to attention because we take from the environment every single day. We now need to be putting back into the environment.
Yep, put back and live with less, consume less, drive a smaller car, why don't you? Anyhow, tell us about your organization, Generation Earth Ambassadors. What are you hoping to achieve with this?
You know what, we need to be starting with young people. We need to guide them into an understanding that they need to, as you mentioned, live with less, but also that they have a powerful role in making better decisions. As a consumer, they are able to, vote with their money. And if we're voting with our money, we're speaking to manufacturers, we're speaking to suppliers of manufacturing products, of plastic, of different things, buying local. You know, we're able to influence and guide these young people into better consumer choices, as well as understanding that they can go into careers of the environmental influence, industry, green economy, sustainability. I believe every career has got a green element in it. Yeah. If you're recycling in an office, if you're participating in Meat Free Monday on a Monday, whatever it is, each individual has to understand that they play a role.
What about those of us that's painting at the moment?
Well, there you go. That's not too bad either.
Tell us quickly about young people, because you work with young people, and at times young people are accused of being unconscious and being in front of the TV all the time and playing TV games and not caring about tomorrow. What's your experience with the young people of today?
You know what, if people had said that to me when we first started Generation Earth or when we started the Miss Earth South Africa, I probably would have thought twice and thought, well, actually you're right. But all the young people that we work with, I'm pleasantly surprised because they want to change the world. They want to save humanity. They want to be involved. They want to leave a legacy. And I think that's really great because we come from a Madiba nation where a huge legacy has been left, where people participate in Mandela Day. They try and make every day a Mandela Day. And we try and inspire them not just to make a Mandela Day, but also to make every day an Earth Day, to small little steps, to be aware of the way in which you live. And I mean, if I may, put on these green monsters.
Yeah, they look really cool. They'll come back to you now and show you. Embarrass yourself in front of your family members, why don't you?
But that's the whole thing, looking through green glasses, looking at the way in which our work, play, live, and looking through environmental glasses. And every action that you do, you're able to reduce, reuse, recycle. And I think that's one of the campaigns that we're running now with the Miss Earth South Africa is Waste Stops With Me. It's a Pick It Up in Miss Earth South Africa initiative to try and get people to understand that, yes, there's litter, but what am I doing about it? Am I pointing to the municipality? Am I complaining? Or am I doing something? We need community members to do something.
You know, it's the same narrative I hear every day. It's even with scourges like drugs and the like in communities. It starts with you. You have to take a stand and you have to get involved and you have to make a difference. Now, the one thing that worries me at the moment, we talk about the young people, but then there's another thing in the back of my head that says you can't teach an old dog new tricks. How do we get the older generation to believe that they need to leave something behind?
You know what, I think a lot of the time the older generation, they've made bad decisions that have impacted the environment. They know. They see the polluted rivers. They see the destruction of forests. You know, it's all these little like notifications, like guidelines to say, you know what, we need to wake up. We need to say we have to train the younger generation to make better decisions than what we have made. And I think if there's such a thing called climate change or not, the point is if we clean our rivers, if we clean up our communities, if we develop our children to make better decisions, if we incorporate solar energy into the renewable mix, I think there we're making better decisions, we're creating a legacy, and we're developing our generation, our society for many years to come.
Final message to all of South Africa and the rest of the African continent that's watching on this very channel now. What are you telling them?
don't think that you are just one small person making a difference. There are so many people making a difference every single day. Join the revolution, be it a celebratory day like today on World Ocean Day or World Environment Month.
Yeah.
Every person plays a role because every person takes from the environment. And if we hold hands together, we can do so much more.
Bella, you are an absolute inspiration. From Generation Earth, the founder of Generation Earth, I can tell you, I like what you just said. We all take from the earth, the ocean, from the environment. So we should all learn to put a little bit back. It's a very simple thing, isn't it?
Very simple.
Bella, the founder of Generation Earth, we all need to learn to live with less. We need to consume less, and we have to put back into the environment what we take out. Otherwise, we're not going to be on this planet for very long. Are we going straight to Kendall with the sport now? Yes, we are.
Ewan, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion you just had. There's something that everyone needs to have been watching and listening to. Good morning to you. We've got the sports, and top of our stories for this morning, as you might know by now, is that football fans have woken up with shock at the news that former Nigeria head coach Stephen Keshi has died at the age of 54. As manager, Keshi led the Super Eagles to lift the Africa Cup of Nations trophy in 2013. He won the tournament in 1994 as a player, only the second person on the continent to have ever achieved this, winning the tournament as a player and then as a manager.
She was born on the 23rd of January 1962 in Azare, Nigeria. During a 20-year playing career, Keshi had spells in France and Belgium, as well as in the United States. He was a key player of the Nigerian national team and appeared at the 1994 FIFA World Cup in the United States. He played in 5 African Cup of Nations championships and was part of the team that won the 1994 tournament. After his playing career, Keshi went back to the United States to be educated in coaching. Between 2004 and 2006, Keshi coached the Togo national football team and qualified them for their first World Cup tournament. After guiding the Mali national team between 2008 and 2010, he was appointed the head coach of the Nigerian national team in 2011. In 2013, the Big Boss led Nigeria to victory over Ethiopia, Ivory Coast and Mali before winning 1-0 against Burkina Faso in the final of the African Cup of Nations played in South Africa. Despite a strong showing at the World Cup in Brazil, in which his side lost in the second round to France, Keshi did not have his contract renewed. He later returned to lead the team on a match-by-match basis. His tenure with the team was finally ended in July last year.
The Big Boss is a great loss for Nigerian football. It's very unfortunately, but God knows the best. May so rest in perfect peace. But the whole Nigeria is very shocked now. He brought a lot of joy to Nigeria. So we just have to celebrate him.
His wife of over 30 years, Kate, died in December last year in the United States after battling with cancer. Keshi is survived by 4 children and his mother. Mduduzi Ndlovu, SABC News.
And now to talk a little more about the passing of this great, we get joined from Abuja in Nigeria by our correspondent, Sophia Adengo. Sophia, thank you so much for giving us this time on this really sad morning to talk to us about the news that Stephen Keshi passed away. How was the news first broken in Nigeria?
Well, here in Nigeria, the news first broke early this morning, probably about 5 a.m. is when we first started hearing reports of the death of Stephen Keshi. Now, you have to understand, Nigeria, football is the #1 sport here, and Stephen Keshi was very much a part of that football fabric in Nigeria, not only celebrated as a player for the national team, but also, raised as a legendary icon here in the country, and one of those that was championing not only the Super Eagles, but the face of Nigeria in world sport. So a lot of grief, all the media outlets here and, word on the street as young men and women are gathered around newspapers and discussing the death of Stephen Keshi are not only shocked because, some would imply that he was relatively young, but there had been previous reports of his ill health and that he had been struggling with certain health issues and was looking to see professional help on those issues. But of course, nonetheless, still a very sad loss here in Nigeria for what has been known as one of those fundamental pillars, not only in the world of sports, but really great Nigerians.
His death really comes at a time when his family is still mourning the passing of his wife, who died only a few months ago. It must be very hard on the family. Have you had a chance to touch base with any members of the Keshi family?
As you might imagine, it is, the tragedy in this family is, spans less than 7 months with the late Keshi having lost his wife. And that was felt very much here in the country with many of his, comrades and collaborators in the field of sport rallying around him and pushing him forward. But of course, these health complications seem to have compounded around this very brief moment after he had lost his wife. The family has asked for privacy at this moment. What we do know is that the Nigerian government is working very closely with the family in providing the necessary support going forward after the news broke this morning of Stephen Keshi's death.
Well, which brings me to the next question, and when you mentioned the Nigerian government, because we also know that the Football Association has also weighed in with their condolences. Stephen Keshi also had links to other national teams in and around the continent. The Togolese, for example, he was linked with them. So he really is seen as a great across the continent, is he not?
I mean, really, you have stated the obvious in that Stephen Keshi did not limit his football to Nigeria, extending himself to West Africa, coordinating these inter-nation cups and tournaments, these games really to not only foster just a simple game of football, but really bridging the gaps between countries here in West Africa and really looking at football as the unifying factor here. Stephen Keshi is also looked at as one who has not looked at the pitfalls of, organized football and, what comes along with that, but has always really been able to push past the politics that are engaged in sport and really bring out the best, especially when Nigeria was taken to the Africa Cup of Nations. That was really the peak and high point. So, he leaves a legacy of one that is not marred with excuses when it comes to football and, African football for that matter and its challenges, but for one that, saw past that and hoped to excel not only in his professional life, but also, as part of the greater Nigerian network here with his talents.
Sophia, we do know that there had been rumors afoot for some time now of his impending links to South Africa. First to coach Bafana Bafana a few years ago, to take over from Gordon Egerson, and most recently to take over from Eric Tinkler as the coach of Orlando Pirates, Amabaganeya. In Nigeria, what was abounding in terms of reactions to those rumors that Keshi was linked to South African teams?
Well, the thing is, Keshi was in high demand. Even upon his death, there seemed to be a real demand for what he could bring in terms of consolidating a football team to represent a country. So, the fact that he was tapped by many other nations really is no surprise. But the fundamental thing to recognize here about, that will really leave a legacy for Stephen Keshi is this heartfelt care for the Super Eagles and really wanting the best to come out of the teams, organizing not only to have local teams recruit here in Nigeria, but insisting that all the players who are playing internationally really come and rally around Nigeria and put their best foot forward for Nigeria, to play for Nigeria. So despite the demand that surrounded his talent and, of course, his management skills in the world of football, he was, number one, fundamentally driven and really stuck to the Super Eagles to make sure that they were doing their best for Nigeria.
Sophia Dengo, thank you so much for giving us this time to bring us up to speed with what the emotion in Nigeria is like. We really appreciate that. There you have it, Sophia Dengo, our SABC correspondent out in Abuja, Nigeria, talking to us about the passing of Stephen, the big boss, Keshi. May his soul rest in peace. Now, staying with football news, South African football players lack the mentality and fighting spirit to compete at international level. This is according to football analysts, following Bafana Bafana's failure to qualify for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Gabon. Instead, local football fans will be watching neighbours Zimbabwe in the biennial tournament next year.
Arguments emerge every time Bafana Bafana fails to do well or qualify for a major football tournament. Some argue that the influx of foreign players is killing the local game. For example, Zimbabwe has 19 players in the ABSA Premiership, but most of them at quality. The reigning South African Footballer of the Year, Kama Billiard, was instrumental in helping his country qualify for the AFCON tournament. Kama and his Zimbabwean teammates, Willard Katsande and Kudakwashe Mahachi, are adding much needed quality to the local game.
We now realize that our leading goal scorer, our Players Player of the Year, our Midfielder of the Year, and also the South African Football of the Year is a Zimbabwean. And nothing wrong with that, because we've also had this argument of saying do not import people that are ordinary, that we can find around the corner in any of the townships. So yes, they bring in quality. Yes, they have been a marvel to watch, Ballot in particular.
The ABSA Premiership has been attracting players from all over the world for over 40 years, and the trend is set to continue.
Sometimes our players here, they're too comfortable. Players outside South Africa, if he doesn't play 90 minutes and get soil on his uniform, get muddied, blooded, he doesn't feed his family.
The local players can learn a lot from the foreign legion, and this can help improve the general standard of the league and the national team.
Because there's no way you're going to go to Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia to get the worst players. You're going to get their best. And if you put your best versus your best here in South Africa, that can only improve the South African players.
We just need to say, are we learning as local players from the commitment that is being shown by these players? And they also go on to show the same commitment for their countries.
Currently, the PSL has less than 20% of foreign players compared to 68% in England and almost 42% in Spain. Sfiso Ramara, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Interesting words those from Max Maponyane, legend for both Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, as well as Ralph Nkomo, a player agent, talking about how Bafana Bafana players lack the mental steel they need to play on the continent. Now, in a remarkable turnaround, South Africa scored a bonus point victory over Australia in the Tri-Nations ODI series in Guyana last night. A great performance from the bowlers saw them easily defend what had seemed a below-par target with ease. What's going on? Right, now we're going to try and play you those pictures of that particular package shortly, because it is quite interesting how the Proteas turned it around and actually beat Australia. Now, the Baby Box opened their 2016 Under-20 World Championship campaign with a comprehensive 59-19 win over Japan. This at Manchester City's Academy Stadium in Manchester, England. The Junior Springboks produced a dominant second-half performance, scoring 6 unanswered tries to overturn a 19-14 half-time deficit.
Traditionally, South Africa's game plan is based on physicality. However, ahead of the tournament, the junior box coach Davy Theron described his squad selection as one that reflects a team that looks to play with pace and high intensity, something that was evident early on in the contest.
Over the line, and there is the first try on the board. It's come from the blind side flanker.
However, South Africa made too many enforced errors and lacked accuracy in passing, and that allowed Japan back into the contest. When the Japanese dotted down for their third try of the match, the contest looks set to be a repeat of 2015, when Japan stunned South Africa in the 2015 World Cup held in England. However, it took a moment of brilliance from Junior Box to reduce the deficit to just 5 points before the break.
He's wearing 12 though, and JT Jackson has got the second try.
The Junior Box made up for their first half performance, scoring 3 tries inside the opening 10 minutes of the second half to take complete control of the contest. From there on, it was all about the Baby Box knocking the wind out of their opposition. Next for South Africa is Argentina, who came from behind to beat France 24-15. Joseph Mohali, SABC News.
And that's where we'll leave it with the sports for this bulletin. I do know that Evan has got some very interesting news for you. Evan?
Yeah, we do, Kendall. Some developing story, a little bit of breaking news, whatever you want to call it. Of course, here for all of us South Africans, ratings agency Fitch, we can tell you, they've affirmed that South Africa's investment-grade credit rating and maintained its stable outlook for now. But they say the low GDP growth in Africa's most industrialized country poses a risk. They went on to say in a statement that the BBB rating reflects low trend GDP growth, significant fiscal and external deficits, as well as high debt levels, which are balanced by strong policy institutions. Now, all of that, well, we'll give you a lot of the detail in our show at 12 o'clock, and I'm sure Business News at 1 will unpack it wholeheartedly today, though. That's good news, though. A high point for us to end today's Newsroom show on. Myself and Kendall had a good time today.
No, we did, and I think it's very good news. A lot of people are going to be celebrating about that news.
Yeah, we started on a low point with Stephen Keshi's death, but it's nice to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. We'll be back with Newsroom tomorrow. We'll see you then.